Hi, this is Shay Huang. I'm a PGY4 pathology resident in the United States. I go over cases. I talk about cases. I try to do this every day. If you're interested, please subscribe. And without further ado, this is a lung lesion. Thank you to pathlibrary for this online case. It's a 60-year-old female, 2-centimeter lung mass. All right, so I tried to do this blindly, and I got it wrong, okay? I'm just putting it out there. So we're gonna do this together, okay? So this is a lung lesion, and the biggest issue is this relatively circumscribed blue proliferation of lymphocytes, right? And in this scattering of lymphocytes, we see small lymphocytes and we see larger lymphocytes with a prominent nucleoli. So when I first looked at this, I thought, could this be Hodgkin's? I did find it weird, though, that it's in the lung parenchyma itself and not in a lymph node. So that I did think was weird. But it kind of reminded me of these Reed-Sternberg cells, or the popcorn cells that you get in nodular lymphocyte predominant Hodgkin's. But like that kind of looks like a Reed-Sternberg cell. So that was my leading differential. And so here were the stains. So it is CD3 and it's positive in the small cells. So these are T cells. And so I was thinking, like, is this NLP Hodgkin's, where the T cells kind of rosette around the so-called popcorn cells that you see in NLP Hodgkin's? And in NLP Hodgkin's, CD20 would be positive. And it does say it was positive in the scattered large cells. So Eber-ish is positive in the large cells. I mean, Hodgkin's can be associated with EBV, but not always. CD10 was negative. You would see CD10 in Burkitt's, follicular lymphoma, BALL, among other entities. Cyclin D1, that's for mantle cell lymphoma. Cyclin D1, translocation 1114 for mantle cell. So it's not mantle cell. CD30 is positive in a subset of the large cell. So this is where it kind of hung me up, because if this were NLP Hodgkin's, it'd be CD20, 45 positive and 30, 15 negative. But here it's 15 and 20 positive, right? CD5 is stains the CD3 cells. So remember, CD5 is also a T cell marker, but it also stains lymphomas that are CLL, SLL, and mantle cell. The way I remember it is cold man, right? 5, 10, 5 is lower, so the temperature is lower, so it's a cold man, C for CLL, man for mantle. CD23 is negative, so the follicular dendritic meshwork, it's not intact. So could this be like a DLBCL? I mean, the architecture and the presence of large T cells in the mix of a population of small T cells, it makes it less likely. But and SOX11 is negative. So CLL, SLL should, or no, I'm sorry, SOX11 should be positive for mantle cell. The way I remember that is you hang SOX on a mantle. So that's negative. And PAX5 is strongly positive in the large cells. Again, PAX5 should be positive for the B cells in Hodgkin's lymphoma. However, it should be dim positive, not strongly positive. So then I looked at the hint, and then I knew the diagnosis. So this is a diagnosis to consider an angiocentric and angiodestructive. That I kind of overlooked. So that's one of the pitfalls that I had, was I looked at the big population of B and T cells, but I didn't look at the other surroundings of the vessels, right? So that's a hint. So you can see these B cells and T cells infiltrating into the vessels, and that's very characteristic of lymphomatoid granulomatosis. So this was a case of lymphomatoid granulomatosis. So let's read the microscopic description together that pathlibrary provides. It's composed of sheets of predominantly small reactive T cells with scattered, large, more atypical EBV positive B cells with prominent nucleoli. It is an angioinvasive and angiodestructive. So if you've never heard of this entity before, buzzword is angioinvasive, angiodestructive process, okay? This is evident in this case by encroachment of lymphocytes into the vessel walls. This is sometimes termed lymphocytic vasculitis. There may be background inflammatory cells like neutrophils and histiocytes, not prominent in this case, but usually no well-formed granulomas, despite the name. Differential diagnosis, NK T-cell lymphoma, also angiodestructive and angiocentric, but the large cells are CD3 positive T cells, not B cells. EBV positive large B cell lymphoma lacks an angiocentric and angiodestructive pattern, grows around but not into vessels. And Hodgkin's lymphoma shows classic Reed-Sternberg cells, binucleate cells with large nuclei and prominent nucleoli. The large cells in lymphomatoid granulomatosis are positive for CD20 and strongly positive for PAX5. Reed-Sternberg cells are negative for CD20 for classic Hodgkin's lymphoma and weakly positive for PAX5. So discussion, lymphomatoid granulomatosis is a rare EBV-associated B lymphoproliferative disorder that affects the lungs. Most cases occur in the setting of immunocompromised patients, AIDS, transplant patients. Despite treatment with chemotherapy and steroids, the mortality rate is approximately 70%. I did not know how bad of a prognosis this was, actually. Lymphomatoid granulomatosis is an angioinvasive and angiodestructive proliferation of small reactive T cells and large EBV positive B cells. Okay. All right. Well, that was an overview of lymphomatoid granulomatosis. Again, thank you for pathlibrary for this case, and I will see you next time.